And welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. More on that when we see the line towards the back half of the show for the Travelers Championship. And also Mall Chevrolet, South Jersey's #1 Chevy dealer. We have some U.S. Open recapping to do, Danielle and Harry. Quite a weekend in Los Angeles. It's weird. Usually, like after a tournament, I'll have like my notes and it'll be like sentences, right? This time it's just bullet points. It's like there were like individual storylines, like LACC, Rory, Wyndham, Ricky, JT, right? Like all these like things that happened, but there was a lot going on with that tournament. And so we'll start, Harry, with you. What were your overall takeaways?
I just got to tell you that I was wildly entertained the entire week. And I came across, I know the golf course is getting a lot of grief from certain people that it was, fairways were too wide and there weren't enough fans allowed on the property and all this. It was too much of a corporate event. I got to tell you, I was watching it on television and it presented beautifully. And I was thoroughly entertained and enthralled in the golf. And Wyndham Clark blew me away with how he just nutted up on Sunday and hit some great golf shots in big moments. And, NBC's guy, Rory McIlroy, did not. And it was just fantastic stuff down the stretch. To me, I sound like Dan Hicks. Great stuff. Fantastic stuff. The broadcast, I have all those kinds of issues with the broadcast when it comes to NBC. But I'll tell you, Wyndham Clark, second PGA Tour win. He goes a final round of 70, and you're thinking, that sounds like a U.S. Open, just making par, on the final day. I mean, it's not like he was able to shoot 65 or like Tommy Fleetwood was 63 on Sunday and made a run. But the shots that he made on 6, the short par 4, where he drove it into the thick stuff by the green, and he makes a fantastic pitch and led to birdie there. He does an incredible job to save bogey on the par 5 8th hole after he hit his second shot into that barranca. Making bogey there was enormous. Then a great pitch on 11 that led to a par. The fairway medal on 14 was a shot to me. If he goes on and wins 15 more tournaments, that is going to be something you're going to remember in golf forever. A 282-yard shot. I think it was a 3-wood, maybe a 5-wood. I don't know what it was, but it was incredible. And he makes birdie there. Rory makes bogey with a wedge, a sand wedge, and missed the green. Okay, I cannot say that enough because Paul Azinger will never say it. Because
they didn't say it.
I mean, they didn't say it. They were just they were still trying to figure out, looking at their notes, how can you make birdie coming in? Can he still win? It was unbelievable. So props to Wyndham Clark. I thought it was an amazing week. And if I ever get the chance to play that golf course, man, I am not turning it down.
Yeah, no doubt. Danielle, just like we said, a long shot can't win this tournament, right? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What were your takeaways from the weekend?
Well, first of all, if we can have West Coast tournaments all year long.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, it was so great to be
laying
able
in
to
bed,
watch.
watching the last couple
on
minutes.
The couch with my dog, just watching golf. It was tremendous. But yeah, I mean, kind of echoing the same sentiments as Harry there. It was pretty cool just watching Clark come down. I didn't think it lacked excitement, just like Twitter, the entire golf community was kind of saying like, oh, this is underwhelming. LACC is the only fans that are allowed. And at one or two times I looked and I was like, wow, there really aren't any fans. But it really was just like the angle of the camera. And then they come in from another view and then you see, okay, it's packed. Or if you saw like the Instagram, like simply search US Open and see the thousands and thousands of people that were there.
Harry had to correct Dave Portnoy on Twitter. I saw that.
I just set him straight.
That was good. That was nice work out of you.
I love when those guys chirp
in
and know nothing about golf and try to take shots at things. Like, calm down.
Well, give us some context. What did you say, Harry?
Well, he was annoyed that there were so few fans allowed. He said it was absolutely disgusting, the lack of tickets. Okay. Well, first of all, there were apparently 23,000 tickets were sold. But only 9,000 of them went to the general public. In other words, the general admission people like you and me going in there and drinking a couple of beers and getting excited when people make great shots and making noise. There wasn't a lot of that. There wasn't hardly any of that, to be honest. 14,000 of those tickets were in a hospitality area where you got to pay extra to be in those tents and all those nice areas there. So it was a corporate U.S. Open. There's no doubt about it. But that property is so strange. It's hard to get to certain areas. There's a lot of bottlenecks where they just don't want people in certain areas. You can't get back to the Playboy Mansion corner because they don't want you back there in that corner. Okay?
Believe me, we tried. You can't. Right.
Yeah, and exactly. And unfortunately for David Portnoy, that's where Ricky made his 72-foot putt on the 13th green where hardly anybody can get back to. So that's why there wasn't a huge uproar, and I just had to set him straight because he didn't know what he was talking about.
I love it. But that's a great point, Harry. A lot of people are, they just sit on the couch and they're watching golf, and many of them probably haven't been out to a tournament and don't know the layout of the course, or you can't get to something. Or if you're following a group, you're going to say, okay, I'll stay back here on the tee, watch them tee off, and then catch them coming back down
the next hole.
Yeah, or go grab a beer or something like that. And sometimes they don't allow you to just get to certain spots on the course. So I like that. Well done, Harry.
Yeah. So, you have Wyndham Clark, who he didn't finish better than T75 in 6 previous majors, but it was a different guy out there, right? The club twirl of all club twirls, right? He had swagger, and that's what you need. Like we talk about it, right? When we had different people on, whether it's Eric Cole, right? Talking about knowing how to win. Right. And some guys, like sometimes you see Rory right now and it looks like he's trying not to lose.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't have that confidence of like, I'm going to stick this wedge. Like you could see it in their faces sometimes. And, Wyndham Clark looked like a killer. Now, I don't know personally if Wyndham Clark is going to roll off some wins. He seems like an emotional guy, and sometimes there's highs and lows. And I hope he sticks with it because he seems like a great dude. But, the 123rd U.S. Open to me showed up. It gave us some controversy to talk about, which is fine. But, sticking with Rory for a second, Harry, do you think he will win another major? Do you think he has the headspace and the putting to do so?
No, I do. I think he's eventually going to, because he keeps putting himself in situations. He got run down at the Open Championship last year by Cam Smith. Nobody thought that was going to happen. It did. Everybody on, NBC, and I think most of the people that cover golf thought that he was going to run away and just hide from Wyndham Clark, and Wyndham Clark would eventually realize that he's Wyndham Clark and I've only won one golf tournament and I'm not ready for this. But that didn't happen. But you talk about Rory. Rory plays with the weight of expectation, and it destroys him in these moments. I think he's eventually going to break through and win a major, and he'll probably win a couple more. I don't hate Rory McIlroy. I hate the way he's covered, and because they try to make him sound like he's Tiger Woods. And let's just relax here. Rory plays with expectation. That's why that wedge shot came up where it did. I mean, anybody else that's that good puts that on the green and has a putt for birdie. It doesn't happen. He's got to find a way to break through there, but I think he will eventually. Maybe it'll happen at Hoylake where he won a couple of years ago. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would be a good spot for him. Danielle, your boy Scheffler. He's got 3 straight top 3s, 5 straight top 5s, 17 top 12s. I mean, he's there every single weekend.
Every week. I mean, just making a run every single week. And it probably was a good thing that our DraftKings fantasy was locked out before I was able to get into it. I saw a bunch of people on Twitter too, like, hey, Moose, open it up. I'm trying to get in. You're like, even D got locked out. Because I probably would have I would have had Chef up there. But I don't know that I would have had Wyndham up there.
No. Yeah, I mean,
he finished
there,
eagle birdie on Saturday, and all of a sudden thrust himself back into the tournament. You're thinking like, well, this is going to be one of those weeks where he finishes 1 or 2 under par, and he's not really a factor. Boom.
But were you surprised there? Were you surprised when he
not at all. Not at all.
And at that putter, if he can get that putter heating up a little bit, it's every single tournament.
Well, maybe he needs to go get Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler's putter. I heard enough about that freaking putter. I mean, my goodness.
What is it, the jailbird or something like
that? Yes, it is. And actually, Ricky Romano, Ricky's caddy, was the one who played with it first, and Ricky saw it and liked it and ordered it from Odyssey. It's like a 2016 model Odyssey jailbird, and he puts that wacky fat grip on it and a certain huge longer shaft. And then he puts a ton of lead tape on the bottom of it. The bottom is entirely encased in lead tape. So
heavy.
He's playing with that. Yes. And then Wyndham Clark sees it, and he is playing with it. And it's like, you can't buy it right now. Try and order it. It's on.
You can't
get one.
People said like, I'm going to every single like secondhand thrift store
Right.
looking for, do you have the jailbird, or going to like the what is it, like Edwin Watts or something in the
Right.
used section, and it's like, where is that jailbird? But
Yep.
he said he called his rep, and he's the Odyssey rep, and he's like, I want a putter like Ricky. She's like, okay, what specs? He goes, the exact same.
Right.
And then he said when he saw Ricky on the practice green, he was like, oh, he's like, wait, did you cut down your putter a little bit? He goes, yeah, I did. He goes, oh, I might have to cut mine down too. And then
Wow.
them being paired together is pretty funny.
It really was. And Ricky made 23 birdies. That's a U.S. Open record.
Ricky was the story all weekend
was.
until the last couple minutes. You
Yeah.
know, there's no
I
doubt
wanted
about
him
it.
to win, but when
Me
you
too.
saw him miss that putt on 18 on Saturday night, which is another issue I have, those guys should not have been finishing their round in the dark. It's hard to read putts in the dark. And he missed it. I think he pushed it from about 3.5, 4 feet. And that you could just see everything sort of deflated out of him. That was a huge miss. And then he went on to bogey 3, I think, of his first 7 holes on Sunday, and he was out. I wanted him to win so badly.
That's the thing. I think America wanted Ricky to win.
Yeah.
And like you said, NBC wanted Rory to win. But, Harry, you said putting in the dark, coming in like that. Facts, we did a story. I think I might have posted it as a reel on his Instagram. He came up to 18 and he showed, because he was like, he's sitting in the booth and he's like, what's going on? Like, how are they going missing right, missing left? Nobody's hitting this 60-yard wide fairway. He's like, what's happening? And then he went down, stood up on the tee box and showed the sun is setting right in your face. You can't see anything.
Right.
And you're just like glaring. The sun is just shining in your face. So there's a couple disadvantages, but that was one of the takes that a lot of people say on Live. We all start at the same time and end at the same time. You get a late start, you get an early start. That's just what happens on the tour. It's a luck of the draw, I guess.
Yeah, props to Faxon, though. I thought he was brilliant. He was actually pointing out the great play of Wyndham Clark as the Sunday was, transpiring. So props to him.
And the funny part is he has more of a connection to Rory than anyone, because he helps him with his putting, and he didn't sound as biased as some of the other guys.
I
right?
know,
So
it was
that's
so
crazy.
tough. Everything he would send me, I was like, wait, how is this going to be perceived by the public? Like, is this going to be too Rory-esque? Can I post this? Can I not? But I'm glad to hear that the overall consensus is that he's pretty neutral.
Yeah. And, Ricky Fowler, as we said, was the story throughout the weekend. A lot of people don't really, he was so up for when he was so young, right? And had such a lull that people really don't really know much about him at this point, other than the commercials that he does, right? But when you see some of the stuff that he does, and you could tell it's not his cameraman taking these pictures and videos, right? It's the public. He's signing autographs after every single round.
Yep.
He's making sure he comes back out, which I know most of the guys do, right? Give balls to the people that walk with them and all that stuff. But like, he just seems to do it in a way that like is under the radar and just makes him someone that you want to see come back and have a great rest of his career.
Yeah, and he also comes out there and congratulates the winner. He's always one of those gracious losers. He's patting Wyndham Clark on the back.
He gave Wyndham a hug and he goes, if your mom was here, she'd be proud of you. And then when he saw him post interviews and scoring and everything, he's like, how's that feel? Holding that. And I was like, oh, that's gotta hurt to see.
Fellow Cowboy. He was happy for his
right.
fellow Cowboy. Those guys seem tight. But I mean, listen, and that's what drives me crazy about the golf media sometimes, right? The story about Wyndham's mom was tragic, but motivating and tremendous in the way that he handled it. But every single person now, they know it's the easy emotional ask.
I know.
So you have like bozos that have no business asking the question, asking him over and over and over again. Like at some point, you got to be like, guys, like I answered this a million times.
Let the storyline be the golf. It doesn't have to be. We know about his mom. We know about his journey. You know what I mean? It's every single thing. And God forbid, many of the golfers who's had drug or alcohol addictions, that's always the storyline. A kid, it's always like perseverance came back and, their mom died or this happened. It's like, stop. Like Moose said.
Add that to the Chris Kirk overcoming, the alcoholism, and the Scott Stallings losing 100 pounds or whatever it was, changing his body. It's going to be the same thing.
Yep.
Again and again.
I'd like to hear about Wyndham's dad. Maybe I need to do some research on what happened with, is his father around? Like, who is he?
Yeah.
I think they said he was a tennis pro. I believe.
Is that right?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That they snuck that in between stories about the poor mother, right? Like it just gets beaten.
But if this was on CBS and Nance was doing that final hole, and after Wyndham Clark won and was walking and getting hugged by all these people, Nance would have known half of those people's names and would have been saying, "There's his agent, so and so, blah blah."
Yep.
You know, there's his mother. You know, he would have had somebody do all that research. That just proves again to me that NBC didn't think there was any chance in hell that Wyndham Clark was going to win, because they were all ready for the 50 Rory bullet points.
Oh yeah,
they had nothing.
Well, here we go. Who is Randall Clark? Wyndham's father's full name is Robert Randall Clark, goes by Randall. Since 2020 has worked as a co-founder of a storage company, but was once a professional tennis player. So you got that. You got
there
that,
you go,
Moose.
Moose.
Nice. Boom.
Brief career in the sport, came to an end due to an injury, but private equity and investment firms. So there we go.
There you go.
But yeah, Father's Day, and it was like, nope, let's just talk about money.
Right. Yeah.
On Father's Day. How about you talk about the ups and downs of the game of golf. Look at JT. Shoots a second round 81, finishes 153rd in the field. What's going on, Harry? Do you see any, like, he's got bones on the bag? You thought this guy was just going to run, and it's just sometimes things are off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, I wish I did know. But I tweeted, maybe Tiger Woods should stop taking his calls for a while, because this is really kind of getting him back. I mean, he's too good, to be this bad. I mean, we need JT in these final couple of groups on Sunday. I think he's fun when he's playing great golf. He's great to watch, and the sport needs him back. I don't know what it is. You'd think with Bones and, all these coaches, his dad's his coach, that they'd be able to figure this out, but they better do it quick, because the season, we're running out of weeks.
It's the same thing, right? We talked about Wyndham Clark, who played with Swagger, who twirled the club. When JT's on, that's what you see out of him, the club twirling, the strength of the ball, and there's just no confidence right now in his game. And when you're not playing well, it's hard to exude that, but you feel for a guy like that.
His quote, he goes, because he missed the US Open cut by 12 shots at LACC, but he goes, I go win the British Open, nobody even remembers I missed the cut by a zillion. But
that's true.
Some would say it's true. Twitter and Instagram ripped them. They're like, we'll still remember, we'll remind you.
Oh man, yeah, okay.
The internet trolls were out.
Then you have him posting him and Homa watching the final round. Homa predicts the final
Homa
score,
predicted it, and the winner. They're drinking rosé. They're like, should we go live?
I'm glad I bet Max Homa like 6 months ago.
Yeah, me too.
Great insights out of him.
Yeah, me too. He missed the cut.
See the line.
Wait, didn't you guys say that it was the same price?
Same odds.
Same buy-in, like 6
thought we were
months
so
ago,
smart. Like, I'm taking them now, literally the same odds the week.
And people were ripping him for actually staying on the property, coming back and hitting balls on like Saturday and Sunday on the range. Like, it was almost like he was trying to seek attention. And it's like, no.
How dare you work and practice at a facility that
he's got to go to another facility? I mean, come on.
Yeah, at a place that just beat you up, you want to get back there and learn from it a little bit, right? Yeah, exactly. Unbelievable. But just a great U.S. Open overall. Any other takeaways from the U.S. Open to jump out to either of you guys?
Austin Eckroat. How about the week he had?
About our guy, and I was watching the leaderboard like heading into the end, because like the T8, T9, and I'm like, give him a top 10, and it worked out.
Yeah, and I noticed bunch of the guys, coming out on, it's funny. They don't say it on Thursday or Friday, but coming out on Saturday, you start to hear the grumblings about, I don't like this golf course. Like Brooks Koepka, was saying that he had kind of a mediocre week. I know he finished 1 under and tied for 17th, but that's not what we expect out of Brooks Koepka. Apparently he didn't like it. I heard Hovland grumbling about it. Matt Fitzpatrick was on record as saying that he didn't like the golf course. So, I love hearing that stuff, because everybody thinks I'm the only one that doesn't like golf courses. I stink.
I find Fitzpatrick to be a bit whiny at times.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a nice way to put it.
I feel like he complains a lot. I don't know. But yeah, Austin Eckroat. I'm taking a look at him for the Travelers. I'll give you a little advanced scouting on that for sure. But all right, let's take a quick break. We will be right back. All right, and welcome back. And Harry, we're going to talk about the golf outing a little bit, but our great partner, Mall Chevy, is involved. And you have something to say about Mall Chevy, do you not?
Yeah, we love having them be a big part of our outing, and of course the Swing It Ding It podcast, because for 8 years in a row now, Mall Chevrolet has been South Jersey's #1 Chevy dealer. And it could be because they treat their customers just right. That's why Mall Chevy was voted top 100 dealer in the country for customer satisfaction. But I still think it's because of their motto: We sell Chevys for less. Find your perfect drive at Mall Chevrolet. Visit Mall Chevrolet on Haddonfield Road in Cherry Hill, right across from the Cherry Hill Mall, or online at mallchevy.com. Find your perfect drive at Mall Chevrolet, mallchevy.com.
All right, and welcome back as we recap the U.S. Open. We got to recap some local golf. Harry, you played in a pretty cool outing, it seems, this week. You know, I had the Green Valley member guest, which I'll get into, but talk about your experience.
Yeah, on Monday I played with our buddy Joe Clark in an outing to benefit dementia and Alzheimer's research called the Candlewick Open. It's part of his EBOD foundation, and we were over at Broad Run, which used to be Tattersall back when it was private, and it opened in suburban Westchester. It's now Broad Run for many years, but man, the layout is fantastic. It's always been fantastic. Sometimes I played it where it wasn't in the greatest of shape. It was in really good shape. Just a wonderful day, and we actually made a run. We finished T3. We were 10 under. The winner was 12 under. And I made a bunch of birdie putts with that Makefield putter. And the highlight of the day was my Wyndham Clark shot on the par 5 15th from 237 out. I hit a 3-wood to 7 feet, and we made eagle. So we had a good day. We had a lot of fun. Raised, a couple $7,000-8,000 for dementia and Alzheimer's research, and look forward to doing it again. Anytime you could spend an afternoon with Joe Clark on a golf course, it's a good day.
No doubt. Danielle, I have some bad news. Harry Mays is getting in a practice round at the Legacy Club this week.
No.
Yes.
Yep.
I was just talking with Gabby yesterday. I'm like, we got to get our tickets now. We're going to do like a whole little Philly weekend out of it. But maybe I should fly down earlier and get another rep in before.
Let me know.
Wait, are you two playing together or?
In the outing, I have no idea, but I'm
play.
Playing with Moose today.
Oh,
yeah.
No, in the outing.
Oh, I don't know.
Not sure yet. We haven't broken out our foursomes yet. Just waiting to see who else is coming. But yeah,
I
Harry,
feel like
myself,
you two got to be separate. So then we have which of the three of us prevails.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to hear about this Green Valley week, because I heard you battled hard.
It's my favorite, golf weekend for me of the year. They do it incredibly well. Coop is, he's been a guest on the show.
Nice.
Him and his entire staff over there, Jackie, Burtis, all the folks, they just run an incredible tournament. The amount of food that they put out is just ridiculous. Like, you have to pace yourself or you'll be dead. But yeah, Greeny and I jumped out on fire, won some money in the first round because we put up 7 points. We're like, oh, this is our year. And then tied the next one, lost. The wheels started to come off.
Well, the weather probably interrupted your mojo, right?
Talk about that. I mean, and talk about the way that staff handled that, right? I mean, you have a torrential rain, thunderstorm, lightning. Everyone has to clear the course. So they kept us in, and you're supposed to play 2 rounds lunch and then a third round. So we just, moved the lunch up. It really didn't affect the day that much, but after about an hour of it raining, you're like, and you're looking at the 18th green and it's completely underwater and the putting green's gone. You're like, I don't think we're getting back out there today. And, Coop comes around. He's like, yeah, we're going to head out around like 1:30. You're looking and you're like, how? And within an hour, man, as soon as the rain stopped, that course, there may have been one puddle that we ran into the entire rest of the day. It was tremendous. It really was.
That's awesome.
We won some money because you bet these things. You have to bet some teams, and we bet our boys Nate and Johnny, and they won in the playoff, which was incredible. But our boy Factor had Jake Elliott as his guest, which it sounds great. Like, hey, I'm gonna have a +2 as my guest. But in these outings, it's so tough because you have to give up strokes. So he would have had a birdie every single hole basically to give them a chance, which is so hard to ask of someone. But really nice guy. Will be coming on the program soon. Great meeting him. Great golfer. Got to see him hit some balls and stuff. But just a tremendous event overall. We had Coop's son they were on our competitors' bags.
Oh yeah.
Got to see me, as bad as I was playing, drain like this crazy putt. He was like, where'd that come from? Like, I have no idea. And but yeah, nice young man caddying over there. So just all around great weekend.
That's awesome. Great to hear.
Yeah. So there was a meeting yesterday, but nothing really came out of it, right? More stuff about LIV, more questions about the PIF framework deal. But it seems to be still like no one knows what the hell's going on. Does anyone know what's happening with this thing? I don't see any details.
No, I'm clueless. I have no idea how they're going to merge this whole thing. And, what tournaments is there going to be a live schedule next year? Or is it going to be like a PGA schedule and a live, and the guys can go back and forth and do whatever? I have no idea. I mean, I'm hoping, by sometime in the fall that we have this figured out.
Yeah, and despite Koepka saying we'll see you next week at the Travelers, that's
awesome.
not going to happen.
No.
I like how he just likes to stir the pot a little bit, keep the media and everybody else kind of on their toes. But this merger between the PGA Tour and the Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, we still don't know anything. So it's almost like people are waiting for something to come out, but with Jay Monahan being sick and everything else happening, we're just kind of waiting. What's going to go on? What's going to happen? Where's the future going to be?
Well, I know you guys read the Tom Watson letter in its entirety. I did
lengthy.
not. I only caught the last page of it. But what was your sense of the venerable Tom Watson's reaction?
I mean, kind of, he's just like he's a patriot. And obviously a lot of people with the 9/11 affiliations, say like he was just saying I don't have the letter up in front of me, but essentially as like a 20 plus year member of the PGA Tour. And that the fact that they have like a players advisory board and nobody was consulted, and he thinks like it kind of was just done improperly. And this was an open letter to Jay for anybody who hasn't read it. But essentially saying like he wishes that they had a say in it. He wants to feel comfortable and proud playing on the PGA Tour and be able to look families from 9/11 in the face comfortably and say, yes, this is the tour that I play on. But he also acknowledged that the US, does business with Saudi Arabia as well. And that there's so many different entities and businesses in the world that do business with Saudi Arabia. And that we're kind of only just looking at the PGA Tour as doing business with them. So that was kind of a, short version of it. Moose, is there more context you want to add to it?
No, I mean, that was a great summary of that. I mean, that's exactly what the sentiment was. Still, like, to him, more questions than answers, right? Which is what everyone's saying. But, it's funny because it's like, they said Greg Norman said business as usual. And here you see the Majestics, right? The team with Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood announced that they have a sponsor with a new name on their team jerseys, that OKX Official, which is a crypto exchange that sponsors actually a lot of other sports teams. They're involved with Man City and McLaren in F1. So that team element of it, which we know that, his excellency, his eminency, what are we calling him? We know that
excellency.
Yeah, I apologize, sir. Please don't come at me. That team part is what he wants to see stay. And now you see, will corporate sponsors, since this merger, kind of like, okay, well, now maybe DJ came to us and we sponsored him. He wants us to sponsor his team. Now we feel a little bit more comfortable doing so. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a surge of corporate dollars into the live side that's going to bolster that a little bit.
And I want to ask you guys too, how are you feeling, about all this in the beginning? I feel like for the most part, the three of us were all, we were like the Rorys. We were loyal to the PGA Tour, and we were like, we're not buying into live. Like, we understood, yes, like if all of us were offered X amount more money than we're making at our current job, then we definitely would look at it. But with all these changes, what are you guys thinking? What are your thoughts currently?
Well, I just hope one of the changes, if they're going to continue with live, is that they go to 72 holes. I mean, I've been saying that since day one. So I'm going to stick by that. But I'm interested. I'm going to go. Me and a couple of guys are planning on running up to Bedminster in August when they come to that course for one of their events. They still went to the website. It still doesn't have the link to buy tickets for it, which I find kind of strange, because every event between now and then, you can purchase tickets, like Greenbrier they're going to prior to that, and a couple of other places overseas. But there's still no ticket link for that. So I don't know if there's something to that, but we're planning on going just to check it out.
I think they're still, finding their legs in a way. I have some people that went to the tournament in DC, and they said like late day one, they were out of everything. Like, couldn't buy a beer, couldn't buy a like, I don't know if they just didn't anticipate the crowds that were going to come, or just, don't have the infrastructure to really, run it like a PGA Tour event yet. But they said it was kind of a little bit disheveled. It felt like it didn't feel like a full, true professional golf event.
See, and that's where the confusion comes in for me, is that, the media and maybe even the tour in an element are making it as if Live was such a threat, but then we hear all these other things. They don't have the fans, they're not getting views when it's being streamed on TV. So it's like, it's a threat, but is it like how? Because everything else doesn't really line up for me.
Yeah, and the same thing. Like I just, I'm not against it. I'm not against guys making the money. I like some of the guys over there. It hasn't drawn me in to want to sit down and watch it. And whether it's the format, whether it's the way they cover it, I actually love Arlo White, who's the voice from Ted Lasso, who's the voice, but like he wasn't really a golf guy. He's a great voice, but the way that they just look at the crowds, look at all those people, like it's just
they overdo it.
Pumping their
They
own
really
tires.
do. Yeah.
Which I get it, right? They're just starting out and they kind of have to, but yeah, we'll see where this goes.
Well, one more thing on this. Are you guys more excited to be watching these major events where every player is allowed to play?
Oh yeah.
Has to. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's their main point.
I can't wait to see Cam Smith defend in a couple of weeks at Hoy Lake. Man, he had a great week.
He was right there.
He always had a great week, man.
Yeah. Yep. Talk about a guy that plays with swagger. I mean, he looks like he wants to go out and win every time, right? And some guys look like they're going out trying not to lose, but not him.
Yep.
So we go to Cromwell, Connecticut, guys, for the Travelers Championship, TPC River Highlands. It's funny. It's like one of my first memories of watching golf, and I don't know why. Like my grandfather, my uncle used to watch it all the time, and my uncle used to work for Travelers Insurance. So there was always like those logos, those umbrellas. So I correlated to seeing, what I saw on TV and watching a couple minutes of it with them. So great tournament. And for the first year, and since 1984, but this is the first time it's an elevated event where guess what? The winner this week is going to walk away with the same check that Wyndham Clark did last week.
Incredible.
And it's also the last elevated event of the season.
Right. Yep, until we get to the playoffs where the money gets big again. But yeah, you're right. This is a great tournament. I agree with you, Moose. I've always enjoyed watching. I think this golf course looks like a fun place to play. It's a Pete Dye design, but Bobby Weed came in and he was a Pete Dye protege and did some work on it years later. And Bobby Weed, he designed the Grove 23 for Michael Jordan. He's done Glen Mills here locally, one of the best public golf courses you'll ever play. TPC Summerlin, the Ponte Vedra clubs, which I've had the experience of playing those two great ones, and White Manor here locally is a Bobby Weed. So I enjoy this guy's designs. I think the finish sets up for just drama because you've got a par 5 and a drivable par 4 with water, in play. Then you got a tough par 3, a tough par 4 17 with water in play. The end, there's going to be some car wrecks and there's going to be some brilliant shots. So it'll be high drama.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, like you said, it is a short par 70, right? 6,800. It was 19.
A lot of birdies
last year
are made. Yeah,
only 2 par 5s.
Right.
And you have the POA greens, which is more of a West Coast thing. So take a look at some of the guys who putt really well on that. Especially a guy like Cantlay, right, with 5 consecutive top 15s.
Yeah.
What's funny, so in this tournament, he has 5 consecutive top 15s while never finishing inside the top 10.
Isn't that crazy?
So he's always in that low teen range. But with the Cavo in the bag, we'll see if there's some changes to his game.
And Xander's defending, and he's a West Coast guy too that's used to the Poana greens.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
no doubt about it.
He had that brilliant Thursday, and then kind of faded from view at the U.S. Open, but he'll probably play really well this week.
Yeah, great. I mean, listen, a great 8 of the top 10, great field. I mean, being an elevated event, you always expect some sort of letdown after a major, but you don't really see it going into this. I mean, it's an area, it's part of the country that these guys seem to enjoy going to and thrive playing in. You see Xander visiting ESPN yesterday, so definitely looks like it's gonna shape out to be a great tournament this weekend.
Was he at least on with Scott Van Pelt, somebody that knows a lot about golf?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just saw him hitting some putts, but it had to be. He had to be.
I would hope so.
I know Greeny would want to snuggle up to him.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Oh man,
Danielle, what are you thinking about this weekend?
Honestly,
have you been to that? Have you been to that course?
I haven't been there. But Brad has a bet with somebody on Instagram. We're trying to get him to 100K. So I was looking at the course. I know that it looks like it's going to set up for some, it's a pretty long course. So I was asking Brad, I was like, okay, these are the topics I want you to cover. I asked him, I said, hey, can you go to the putting green and, let's kind of hone in on your putting skills and talk to some of the players out there, ask them what they're putting with, maybe ask them to hit a few putting strokes. So on that topic, Denny McCarthy. So in the last 4 or 5 weeks, I mean, not huge outing, a great showing at the US Open, but, coming off of his playoff loss and finishing second there. I think Denny is due. I think he's going to continue to play well. So I have my eye on him. And if we're doing a DraftKings fantasy this week, he's definitely going to be in there, along with, of course, my boy Chef, and probably going to maybe top 10 Austin as well.
I like it. Well, Harry, let's see the line as we do, because from tee to green, the best place to go to get on all the action happening on the links is DraftKings Sportsbook. This week, new customers will receive an odds boost to add plus 1,000 to any pre-tournament wager up to $10 on any golfer to win. DraftKings will be featuring parlays and odds boosts all tournament long, so be sure to check the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day before the tournament starts to see what they have in store. We talked about some of the guys that we like. Cantlay is a play here for sure. Very short odds on him, though. You're going to have to, lay out to get him. So it might be a day two, but he's actually not the top guy. So Scheffler still at plus 650, Patrick Cantlay at plus 1,200. So keep an eye, see how these things shake out, and make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DING and boost your odds during this weekend's tournament. That's code DING, D-I-N-G, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Wow. What a
read.
disclaimer. Incredible.
Full disclaimer.
Wow.
Got my hand slapped.
Take a sip of water.
I thought you were going through all 36 states or whatever that have gambling who have to do one.
But what about Alaska, Harry?
Yeah.
What happens there? Unbelievable.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we do what our sponsors tell us to do,
That's right.
And we love it.
That's right. So for me, I'll jump in first, Harry, and then we'll take a look. So a couple guys jump out to me. Early favorites in my mind to just take the win. Harris English, he has a T8 in the US Open, 6,500. I do not mind that number at all. How about you have Brian Harman, who is a T5 in 21 and a T6 in 18 here. 4 top 10s at plus 6,000, a pretty decent number. We talked about Austin Eckroat. I like him in a top 5 with that number at plus 1,800. And Keegan Bradley, who has a T2 here in 19, a T8 here in 17 at 9,000. So really good odds on him.
Wow. I am off the Brian Harman train. He's actually on my what list right now.
I don't like watching him
for other reasons. But anyway, I'm with you on Harris English. I jumped on plus 6,500 to win and also plus 240 for a top 20 to continue his good play from last week. He's also won here in the past. Tommy Fleetwood. Yeah, I'm going to take him in a top 10 at plus 280. Maybe this is the week that he finally breaks through. If he can carry the momentum from Sunday in LA, that would quite, be quite the story. I'm going to take Cam Young minus 120 in a matchup over JT. I just don't think this is the week JT figures it out. Patrick Cantlay, I'm taking him minus 130 over our pal Rory McIlroy. And I'm going to go with Austin Eckroat plus 150 in a top 30 and Ludwig Aberg, becoming one of my favorite young players, plus 125 in a top 40 for the kid from Texas Tech and Sweden.
Wow.
Love it.
Yeah. I like it. Austin, man. He's hanging around.
Eckroat.
And like we say, you come on the pod.
That's
Look
right.
what happened.
I think that's what Denny's waiting for. Denny's waiting to be on the pod before he gets his win.
We got to get him on. But what about Eric Cole as well, right?
I know.
We've seen his wild success this season as well.
He had a top 40 last week. I had him top 30, but he did finish T39, I think.
And what are his odds this week? I think they're...
I'm not sure.
Who, Denny?
No,
Eric
Cole.
Oh, Eric Cole. Let me see.
I don't know.
Scan through. Oh, here you go. Oh, wow.
Plus 12.
Yeah, 150. So he's 15,000 if you look at it the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's
okay.
Yeah, As some
Might throw a couple dollars.
Why not? Why
Yeah.
not? Yeah.
No doubt. So we'll be back next week. We're going to do a full kind of breakdown, a preview of our golf outing coming up. There's been more added to it. It's just I don't know how much more can be added to it, but it's going to be
I
an
was going to say,
absolute
Moose,
blast.
are you sleeping? Oh my goodness. You've done such a great
we
job
talked about we
preparing.
have 3 long drive qualifiers going into a long drive playoff. We have multiple contests after the outing. But the cool thing is everyone will just be hanging out on the patio and being able to watch all of these things happening in front of them if you're not participating in it. So really looking forward to it. And just some great sponsors that climbed in, benefiting the Magical Mila Foundation, obviously. The latest being Tito's Vodka, who stepped up, and they're going to have a great setup out there for us. So looking forward to it. Harry, looking forward to playing a little golf with you and John Clark this week.
Yep.
And Danielle, we'll get you out to the Legacy Club for a practice round beforehand.
I can't wait.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week. Take care.